If someone damaged you on purpose, I want you to hear me clearly. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a decision, and decisions have meaning. A person who chooses to break you with intention isn't confused. They hate you deeply, and they want you to feel it. Now, the real question isn't about why they did it. The real question is, what will you do about it? When someone causes intentional harm, it reveals far more than just a moment of cruelty. It exposes a deeper psychological state, contempt. Contempt is not just anger or dislike. It's the belief that the other person is beneath consideration, unworthy of empathy, or even less than human. And once that belief takes root in someone's heart and mind, it becomes fertile ground for destructive behavior. People don't damage others intentionally unless they've first stripped them of value in their internal framework. That's why intentional harm is one of the clearest signs of deep-seated hatred. To intentionally harm someone, a person must go through a process of mental justification. They don't just act, they rationalize the act beforehand. They tell themselves stories. They deserved it. They're weak. They'll never change. They brought this on themselves. These internal narratives are not innocent. They're weapons crafted in thought before they ever strike in reality. And what fuels these narratives is contempt, a cold dismissal of another person's dignity and worth. Anger might come and go, but contempt lingers. It festers. It builds a narrative of superiority in which the other person becomes a target for humiliation or destruction. This mindset is fundamentally dangerous because it severs the ties of human empathy. When you no longer see someone as worthy of compassion or understanding, it becomes far easier to justify doing them harm. That harm might be verbal, psychological, reputational, or even physical, but in every form, it is rooted in the same seed. The person has been devalued in the mind of the attacker. They are seen not just as flawed, but as deserving of pain. That is the logic of contempt. And here's what's most terrifying about it. It can be masked. Contempt doesn't always look like rage or open hostility. Sometimes it comes dressed as passive aggression, silence, sabotage, or false concern. A person who secretly loathes you might still smile to your face, but their actions will tell the truth. The manipulation, the subtle cruelty, the sabotage behind the scenes, those are signs of a deeper moral rot. Because contempt doesn't always seek justice, it seeks destruction. And it doesn't necessarily want to be caught. It wants to harm while remaining untouchable. When someone has reached that place where they can willfully cause damage and still sleep at night, you're not dealing with a momentary lapse in judgment. You're dealing with a conscious decision to harm. And that decision doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's built on a foundation of contempt, layer by layer, thought by thought. By the time the damage is done, the person doing it has already convinced themselves that you deserved to be broken. Intentional harm is not a random event. It's a reflection of how someone truly sees you, or rather, how they don't. And once someone's contempt has reached that depth, it's a sign that you're not safe in their presence because they've already decided you're not worth protecting. Manipulation is one of the most deceptive and damaging forms of betrayal because it is rarely impulsive. It is carefully thought out, layered in false kindness or emotional games, and designed to benefit the manipulator at the expense of someone else's clarity, security, or trust. What makes manipulation so insidious is not just that it causes harm, but that it is often carried out under the illusion of connection, affection, or even loyalty. That illusion is the trap. Behind it lies premeditated betrayal, the choice to deceive someone for selfish gain. To manipulate someone is to treat them as a means rather than an end. It's to view their feelings, choices, and vulnerabilities not as things to respect, but as levers to pull. The manipulator studies your patterns. They listen not to understand, but to exploit. They observe what moves you, what makes you hesitate, what you fear losing, and then they construct a plan to push those emotional buttons. That kind of strategy is not accidental. It's calculated. It takes time, effort, and most importantly, a willingness to violate the moral boundary that separates influence from control. Manipulation starts small. It often begins with subtle distortions of reality, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, selective honesty, or emotionally loaded silence. The manipulator tests the waters, watching how far they can go. And if there's no resistance, if the target begins to doubt themselves, they go deeper. Each act builds on the last. The victim starts to lose their sense of independence. Decisions become harder. Self-trust erodes. And through it all, the manipulator maintains